All right, over the last couple of weeks, we've been marking Black History Month by exploring our own Black history here in Pittsburgh.
Today, Boaz is at the Carnegie Museum of Art at the Charles Teenie Harris Archive Gallery. If you don't know that name, you may recognize his images. His work documented life in Pittsburgh's Black communities and literally provided a snapshot of what life was like in mid-century America. And based on what we're seeing behind you, Boaz, it looks like you took a lot of pictures, huh?
Yes, yeah, he was definitely prolific. He took over 70,000 photos, all of which are here at the museum. Obviously, they're not all on view today, but in the gallery, which they opened in November, they've had his photos here on display over the years. But this is the first permanent gallery, and it's really a very cool space. And here he is right here, Charles Teenie Harris. This is him later in his life in the 1970s. And he really took photos of everything that was happening. It feels like he really kept track of all the important people who came to town. Here's Jackie Robinson when he visited Pittsburgh, and then also here's this Alice Brooks, this amazing jazz pianist who's playing this mirrored piano on a rotating stage, which I wish this was a video because I would love to see how that worked. But then he also took photos of kids hanging out in the playground over here. Here they are sometime in the middle of the 1940s, and they have identified many of the people in these photos, but a lot of them they haven't. So if, as we're walking through, you're like, hey, wait a second, I think that's my uncle, please get in touch. They would love to hear from you. And so one of the reasons Charles Teenie Harris took so many photos was he was the first photographer for the Pittsburgh Courier, which is one of the oldest and most influential Black newspapers in the country. And I want to walk over here. So we have this sort of timeline over here, but then there's this area where you can sit down and get sort of familiar with different photos. They have all these books. These are ones all taken at home, and I love this one. This is Anne's first birthday party, which is so sweet. If any of those, maybe one of those is your grandparents, let us know. And the cool thing is they sort of made a deal, and he wanted to get all his negatives to the museum. And so here they are displayed, and here they really are sort of like a little block, a work of art. They're almost like little jewels. They're so cool. And he developed all of these in his basement in the Hill District, which is where he was born and also where he grew up. And they really bring it to life. Charlene is the community archivist here, and she's sick today, unfortunately. She was hoping she could guide us through. But you are able to hear from people who knew Teenie. Charlene did. She's actually in some of these photos, but they've got these little phone things, I don't know what you call these, phone circles, and you can hear from various folks who knew Teenie or were in his photograph. So I don't know if you can hear, this is Pat Parker Reed over there who worked with him at the newspaper. And also, I didn't know this, I was familiar with a lot of the photographs, but I didn't know he also took a bunch of video, and for the first time, those videos are on display here, so you can see them here in the public, which is really, really incredible. And so this is going to be here for a long time, forever. They have some photos on the wall as well over here, and they're going to keep switching these out because obviously they've got 70,000 different photos. So, as over the coming years, you'll come and you'll see new photos. They've been changing them seasonally. I guess a few months ago they were winter photos up on the wall, and now they're summer photos. So I don't know. Have you seen anyone familiar yet? Any of these folks look familiar that you've seen?
I have not, Boaz, but I'm always fascinated by Teenie Harris's work. It's just, it's amazing how it captured that period in time in Pittsburgh.
And that's so important that he did capture that period in time, because without those photos, we wouldn't know, right? You know, we didn't have social media at that point.
Well,
we didn't have that constant documentation.
Yeah, and you can see this is how he kept track of them. So he didn't have names on all his, different films. He just sort of had a note. Okay, here's one with all children on it. Here's some with women. Here's something related to the NAACP, related to the YMCA. And this isn't his actual camera, but it's the kind of camera he would have used. So they do have two events coming up on February 20th and February 22nd. These are almost like open houses where you could come, get familiar with the collection. Charlene will be here. So if you're like, I think, my uncle was involved in this organization. Do you think there might be a photo of him? She can help you.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, going through 70,000 photos, you could be there for a long time. Boaz, we thank you. And of course, you can visit the Charles Teenie Harris Archive Gallery at the Carnegie Museum of Art in Oakland every day except for Tuesdays. And you can always keep an eye on their website for special events.
He really did a good job. They might be calling him to be a tour guide.
I know.
Yeah.
Boaz, we have first dibs.
Yes, we do. All right, coming up on Talk Pittsburgh, it's the festival that dishes out some delicious desserts to make a difference in the community. And this year's event promises to be the sweetest one yet. Get that smell-o-vision ready. We've got a sample for you next.